repeated code is called out in our code standard as well. It's a code smell, we want to get rid of it. So let me just show you a strategy that I expect you all to know that you will have to apply to your own code as well. Say both of our entities, the star and the player, integrates velocity into position. These properties are all part of the base class, so we might as well move it up there. We can call super update when we're ready to integrate our velocities. So update in entity can contain this code, and then both the player and the star saves a few lines. Let's do update super. No, super update. My God. There we go. Now, these tests are also the same, only with different values. We have two limits. We have a value we want to set, depending on if we're passing those limits or not. So we could make that into a utility function. This bitmap scaling code seems too useful to hide away in a constructor, so that should probably also go into a utility. So let's make one. And I'm not sure if this is a smell or not, but it's something I tend to create in most of my game projects. I just call this utils because it's essentially going to become a namespace, and it's going to be a static abstract class. It should not be instantiated. All methods in this class will be static. So we can start with moving out that bitmap scaling code, because that's annoying me more. Let's see, we have target height, we have original height. Those are the two arguments. So if I do this and ask it to refactor, extract method, let's call that something like scale to target height. It now takes the target height. It doesn't take the bitmap, but that's fine. We can work with this. I'm going to just take this method and move it into the utils class. Bring bitmap with us, and then make this. You can make it public, it doesn't matter. We make it static, and it needs two arguments here. We're going to need a bitmap source. We're going to make a final int target height. Then we replace all of this with the argument source. Oops, sorry. And source. We return the new bitmap. So after this has run, we have to make sure that the original, that the source is being recycled. We can't do that in our function here. Or maybe actually we could, but it would be rude to. Let's not assume we know what the caller wants. So back in my player class, I can now use utils scale to target height and pass in my bitmap, the target height, and then call bitmap recycle. That makes sense? Target height, of course, should be a gameplay value. It should not be here at all. So I'm gonna move it out here for now. Add a comment. This can also be final, and that means it can be static. It's a value every player will share. All right, another utility then is this wrap thing. For wrap to work, we're going to have it needs to return the value, it needs to take a value, so basically what I want to be able to do is something like this. X equals utils wrap, passing in the current x, that's the value, and then our limits, which would be, see here, either set it to 0 minus our width, so negative width, because we want it to be outside of the stage, i.e. we set right to 0, right? We don't set x to 0. We want to set x to negative width, so we are outside of u. And on the other hand, we want to check if x is more than stage width. That's the type of call I want to make. On the y-axis, it would look like utils wrap. We pass in the y, and in this case, it should be, I believe, minus height. And if y has passed game stage height, So if we've passed this value, set it to this value, and probably vice versa. Let's see if we can write that. Should have started with a star probably, right? Because the player ain't moving yet. But yeah, let's go to utils and create this type of function. It looks stupid, but it's actually super useful in a lot of contexts in a game engine. And once you have a wrap, you probably also want a clamp. So let's do... Can I make this... Is there such a thing as generic programming or template programming in Java? I'm going to code these as floats, but they probably shouldn't be. They should be whatever numeric type the user is calling us with. Final float min and the final float max. I think that's the order. So if value is less than min... Set it to max. Else if the value is more than max, and I just realized I can't make the input value final because I want to use it, and then return that. That means I need to have a return type on my method. So pass in the value, the minimum, the maximum. If the value is less than min, set to max. Otherwise, wrap it the other way around, and otherwise return it unchanged. Fine. A similar, also super useful function is public static float clamp. I'm gonna have to work out after this video if there is metaprogramming. It seems like there should be templates in Java as well. It's just too useful not to have. Let's do the same arguments. You'll see where this becomes useful in a little bit. If my value is more than max, set value to max. Else if value is less than min, set value to min, and then return value untouched. So if we're over max, set it to max. If it's less than that, set it to minimum value, and we're good. So clamping, super useful. Go back to the player. That's good. We should try this on the star as well. If we are less than, he's doing another direction. So let's type that out. X should be utils wrap x 0 to game stage width, and that's set left, so we actually need to add our width. This ends up being slightly less, I want to say slightly less readable, if I'm to be honest here. But we also get both dimensions checked. We're checking in both directions rather. So we want to wrap y and 0 game stage height. Plus height or minus height. Well, the stars are behaving. We can also give the ship some, where are my player? Let's do some velocity here. Velocity y equals 6 and velocity x. Maybe minus 3. So it's moving backwards. While that compiles, we can check the time. Yeah, that seems to work. Next up, I think we need some input. We need to be able to make this ship run and then add some enemies, and we're starting to get to the point where gameplay becomes a factor. See you in the next video.